Hello and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi everyone, welcome to the week of November 16th through November 22nd. I am so glad to be back and so glad to be talking to you again and with you. And I want to take a quick minute and just thank you all for the texts, the emails, the comments on Substack, all the different ways that you reached out to express condolences for the loss of my dog. He was amazing. He was my best friend, and I miss him desperately. And you all taking time to send those kind words really did matter and really did touch my heart. And so thank you. And before I forget, thank you for being here. I know that it's hard when we lose the rhythm of me missing a week, and when things like that happen, pattern gets broken. And so for all of you who are hearing this, thank you so much for being here. And I am really bummed that I did miss the week when the Mercury retrograde started, because boy, howdy, is this a Mercury retrograde. And I feel like I've been saying that for the last couple of them, right? But this one is really intense. I think we're through the worst of it, and I'll explain that in just a minute. But the Mercury conjunction with Mars while Mercury was retrograde, I mean, I can't even tell you what I've been hearing from clients, breakups, rage quitting jobs. I did my usual when Mars is involved. I have a second-degree burn on one arm. So it was intense. It was intense. And like I said, by the time you're hearing this, we're probably past the worst of the Mars part of it. But the focus this week is that this is really a two-part Mercury retrograde. And it's big on both sides of it. The reason I say it's two-part is because it started in Sagittarius, and it does that whole shebang with Mars. And then it's going to move into Scorpio. Depending on where you're at, that's going to happen right around the 18th. So, of course, when a planet changes signs, it changes how it expresses itself. And there is quite the huge difference between Sagittarius and Scorpio, right? So we're going to get into it. I know it sounds like really overwhelming right now, and we're all pretty much over this whole Mercury retrograde thing anyway, because the beginning of it has been so intense. So yeah, let's just jump in. I don't even know how to tell you how intense this week is. It is far from just the Mercury retrograde as well. So on top of that whole thing, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. Also, Mercury is not just retrograde. He's making about a gazillion aspects while he's retrograding. And in fact, he's doing so much that I can't even talk about it all in this episode, or, I know none of you want to listen to me for the 6 hours it would take. So yeah, just know it's going to feel like there's a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of energy. It's going to have, I think, I don't know how to put it, maybe like an emotionally cluttered feel to it. So this is one of those weeks that if it's feeling overwhelming, yeah, it is. So self-care, take time off, just do whatever it is you need to do to take care of you. All right. So a few of the other things that are going to be happening. We've got the sun in Scorpio that's going to make a trine, the most auspicious aspect to Jupiter in Cancer. That's happening right around the 16th. This is beautiful. This is just expansive joy. So grab it while you can, because the very next day, the sun is going to trine Saturn in Pisces. Now, A trine is a good aspect. So I think what that's going to do is sort of illuminate where we need to put the hard work in. The other thing it might do, Sun, Jupiter, trine can be a lot. We can almost like get too big in what we think we want to accomplish. And having the next day bringing Saturn in a positive way, it might help us rein it in a little bit and make things a little bit more manageable. So I'm not hating that at all. I have to say so. Of course, the Mercury retrograde is going on during all of that, but still we'll take the good we can get, right? On the 19th, we have Venus making that trine to the North Node of Destiny. This is fated love. I don't even know what else to say. So look at where that's going on in your charts. And I didn't tell you where that's going on, did I? Venus will be in Scorpio, trining the North Node in Pisces. On the 20th, I am loving the sextile between Uranus in Taurus and Neptune in Pisces. Now, you know, I normally don't like anything having to do with Neptune, but this, I have to say, a lot of astrologers are not loving this, but I am. This is like creativity run wild. I think it's going to be brilliant. It's the rebel artist. That's what it is. It's the rebel artist. So art from our true authentic voice. All right, there is so much going on. I mean, Mercury this week is making something like 6 different aspects. We can't even, right? It's too much already. So let's get into the heart of it. So the first couple of days of this week, we're still in this original Mars, Mercury kind of thing going on in Sagittarius. So whatever you've been going through with all of that, I would imagine that's how the week starts off. I'm not going to say a whole lot about that. Sagittarius is about long-term plans, big visions, that kind of thing, right? So when Mercury's retrograde, it's all the rewords, rethinking, replanning, all of that, which already can be kind of frustrating. It's not bad. Just remember, Mercury retrogrades aren't bad. Okay. You know what? I can't even believe my own self on this one because this Mercury retrograding into Mars has been pretty brutal. But in general, when we look back on them, the energy is good for something, right? And it's good for the redoing. The problem in Sagittarius is that these are our big picture ideas and we generally don't want to redo them, right? It's like, no, I have this 5-year plan and I'm on it and I love it and it's my plan. And then Mercury retrograde says, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of cute how you had that plan and everything all laid out. Now you have to go do some revision. Yeah, it's not always so much fun. We're not always, just embracing that with open arms, but that's kind of where we're at. Mars in the mix is just making it intense. So we may be feeling angry and frustrated and whatever. I've also seen a lot recently of like blame happening. So for some people, at least, if you're feeling like you're angry because it's somebody else's fault that you have to rethink something or another going on in your life, step back from that. My guess is, I mean, sometimes, yes, it's somebody else's fault, right? But my guess is a lot of that just has to do with because this meetup with Mars is just really intense. And when I say intense, I mean kind of horrible for the most part. Now, ideally, it can just be energizing. It can give that oomph that we need to get in there and do that reworking of whatever kind that we're having to do. But that's not what I'm hearing people talking about. And I don't know if that's you. Count your lucky stars. The thing is, that's only the first couple of days of the week. Around the 18th, depending on where you are, Mercury's going into Scorpio. So we leave that big picture, kind of wide angle lens of Sag, and we're going into the deep dive. Scorpio is fixed water. It is deep, emotional territory. But even when a planet is doing a two-parter, so this Mercury retrograde has some Sag, has some Scorpio, I don't think it's going to be two different stories for almost anybody. I would be super surprised. It could be, but really, I don't think so. This is one Mercury retrograde. I think we're going to have a different focus. So we've been looking out with Sagittarius, and Scorpio is saying, now go deep. What is your emotional truth? How do you need to rethink your emotional position to whatever this other Sag story is? So if you're having to revise like your 5-year goal for your marriage, for your home life, for your career, whatever it is, depending on what house it's hitting in your chart. If you're having to revise some big goal, how do you have to adjust your emotional truth around that? When something's really big in that Sag kind of way, it's not like we change it and don't have to change ourselves to some extent as well, right? And I think that's what this second bit of the Mercury retrograde's going to do. So in some ways, I feel like it's going to be really, really challenging and intense, but in a different way. The good thing that happens is we are leaving Mars behind. So the anger, the impulsivity, the sort of lashing out aspect of it, I'm thinking that's going to pretty much be done by midweek. But there is going to be I don't want to say challenge, but when it's Mercury retrograde, sometimes it feels that way of going deep inside. So for a lot of people, the Mercury-Mars thing has been some kind of a breakup. That's not always a love affair breakup, right? Like I said before, I've known people who have rage quit jobs. I do know a lot of relationships that have ended, all that kind of stuff going on. It makes sense then, if you're one of those people, it makes sense that you have to then go inside and do that kind of emotional repair. Repair is a reword, right? So just know that this might be the more emotionally intense part of it, not, excluding the anger, aligning our inner world with that outward movement we want to do. Now, remember, on the 29th of November, Mercury is going to go direct and he's going to pass back over whatever it is that's coming up this week. So we're not done. We're not done actually till mid-December, really, when Mercury finally leaves shadow in Scorpio, when the whole entire story is played out. So just know we've got a lot of time in this. That's why I'm saying this week is super cluttered. Take your time, rest. I think with Mercury retrograding through Scorpio, you'll be able to do that. I think you'll want to do that. The goal might be like, don't only rest. You do have to get out of bed at some point and do some other stuff. Now, here's the good news. Okay, there is good news. I'm always going to get to it. I probably should have led with that at the beginning. Sorry. Anyway, maybe I'll go back and try to edit that in. But I don't want to take away how complex I think this is. But on the 19th, so this is right after Mercury crosses into Scorpio, what does he hit? The new moon. So the 19th, we get a new moon in Scorpio, and that is going to be conjunct the Mercury retrograde. You get what I'm saying? All three, moon, sun, Mercury retrograde together. Wow. Oh, wow. This is complicated and kind of wonderful. So what this means is this new moon story that we know goes on most dramatically for a whole month, but actually new moon energy is a 6-month cycle. I've explained that in other episodes, but in case, just for a quickie, we actually complete that story when we get the full moon in Scorpio, which happens in about 6 months, okay? So, whatever this Mercury retrograde story is for you, whatever you're grappling with, revising, this is going to actually be part of a whole new beginning, a new life cycle that's going to be intense for a month, but go on for 6 months. That Mercury retrograde story is part of this. So think really optimistically as you're facing these issues. What new beginning do you want? If there have been endings, especially for those people out there who have been struggling with the breakups and things like that, or even if it's not something like a relationship breaking up or a job ending, but just you breaking up with a project, maybe you breaking up with a goal, whatever that is, it is inviting in something new that comes from, that is born out of this revision. Does that make sense? I mean, I know new is always born out of endings, right? That's how the lunar cycle works, but this is more intense. It's like that on steroids, because it's whatever this revision process is. What new phase of life does it launch? Does that make sense? It's very complicated, and sometimes I don't know if I have all the words, but there we go. So as Mercury finishes the retrograde, moves forward, all of that, you might want to journal and see, how are those new moon intentions that you set, how are those playing out? And I will remind you again, if you're that intention setting kind of person, this is Scorpio, deep emotions. If you're setting intentions, make sure they align with this revision process you're going through, and also with what Scorpio is able to manifest. If you're setting all kinds of like outward, hardworking, big goal-oriented kinds of things, Scorpio's not as much about that. It's going to have problems delivering for you. But the other thing to keep in mind is, with Mercury right there, set intentions that are around mercurial topics. What are those? Writing, communicating thoughts, ideas, contracts, business, short distance travel. All of those kinds of things are fair game for this new moon. Writers, content creators, anybody who communicates for a living, all the social media people and all of that. This is your new moon. Set those intentions, and oh, wow. But also remember, Mercury's still retrograding. So whatever these intentions that you're setting are, expect that you're going to tweak them, right? But not to worry, that is not even an issue, because at the time of the new moon, we have Mercury making brilliant angles to Neptune, which is creativity, and Jupiter, the expander, the luckiest planet, the greater benefic. It's pretty glorious, all rolled up in this crazy, crazy Mercury retrograde. So do you see why I say, I don't even know exactly how to talk about this week and make it make sense? I think the first part of the week is going to be the hardest. That's when we still have Mars close enough that I hate it. Then we go into the Scorpio emotional deep dive. I think there's some complexity with that, but we also have the grand trine and the new moon. So it is just a very mixed bag. It's emotional, it's complex, it's frustrating as hell. And oh my gosh, what do you say? But you get it. I really do think that when we finally get to the other side of all of this, I think that some good is going to come out of it. I really, really do. I just honestly don't think most of it's going to be that much fun. So I hope that was helpful. I know it's a little bit all over the place this week because honestly, I haven't even touched on how all over the place it really is. But just stay focused on getting through it and learning the lessons, right? Stay focused on what this Mercury story is really giving you the opportunity to make better, because that is really what it's about, even if it's doing it the hard way. That's all I got. Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad there's no more? Well, there is. I just don't have time. So that's all I'm gonna do, I should say. And until next week, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. And we'll make it through to the other side. We always do, yeah? Talk to you next time.